Section 012 is on measures of center, variation, and position. Mean, median, and mode are measures of what is average about a set of data. The mean is the sum of the values divided by the number of values. In other words, it's basically the average. The median is the value that is in the middle when the data is arranged in numerical order. So that's going to be your very middle value. If there are two middle terms, find the mean or the average of those two terms. And the mode is the value or values that appear most often in the data set. There isn't always necessarily a mode in a set of data. The range of a set of data is the difference between the greatest and the least values. It describes the variation in the data. Let's take a look at an example here. The number of minutes Sarah talked on her cell phone each day this week is 63, 21, 24, 52, 74, 56, and 38. Find the mean, median, mode, and range for this set of data. So the first thing we want to do is arrange these values in numerical order from the smallest to the largest. And this can be a little tricky sometimes, but let's go ahead. 21, and then I have 24, 38, 52, 56, 63, and 74. And I like to just check 2, 4, 6, 7, 2, 4, 6, 7. Yes, I got everything. Okay, so the first thing we need to find is the mean, and that's going to be the average of all of these. So that's going to be equal to 21 plus 24 plus 38 plus 52 plus 56 plus 63 plus 74 divided by the total number of values, which is 7. So you're going to need your calculator for this one. So that adds up to 328 divided by 7 is approximately 46.9. The median is going to be the number in the middle. Because there are 7 values, I'll count 3 on each side, and that means my median is going to be 52. The mode is the number that appears most often, and there are no repeated values here, so this set of data has no mode. And the range is going to be the difference between the greatest value and the largest value. So that's going to be 74 minus 21, or 53. A quartile is a measure of position that divides the set of data into 4 groups. Quartile, quarter, 4 groups kind of makes sense. The lower quartile, or Q1, is the median of the lower half of the set of data. So if you're looking at the lower half of data, the set of data, it's going to be the number right in the middle of that. In the same way, the upper quartile, or Q3, is the median of the upper half of the data. So these quartiles, the lower quartile, the median, and the upper quartile, along with the minimum and maximum values of the data set, are called a 5-number summary. So let's take a look at another example here. Find the minimum, the lower quartile, the median, the upper quartile, and the maximum for the following set of data. In other words, give me the 5-number summary. So again, I want to line up the data in order from the smallest to the greatest. So that would be 14, 16, and I actually have 2 17s, and then 20, 21, 22, 26, 28, 29, and 35. So let me check. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Good, I got them all. So let's start with the median. So the number, since there are 11 data values, if I take 10 off of, or 5 off of each side, that's going to give me 21 as my median. And of course, this is going to be my minimum value right here. And this one's going to be my maximum value. And now I need to find the upper and lower quartiles. So I'm going to look at the lower half of the data. So I'm not going to worry about the median, but I'm going to go from these numbers 14 through 20. And the median of that, the number right in the middle, is going to be this number right here, 17. That's my Q1. And then not looking at the median, but looking at everything from 22 to 35, my number in the middle is going to be 28. So that's going to be my Q3, my upper quartile. The inner quartile range is the difference between the upper and the lower quartile. We abbreviate this IQR, and it's going to be basically Q3 minus Q1. Now, an outlier in a set of data is an extremely high or extremely low value when compared with the rest of the data. In other words, it kind of lies outside of where most of the data is. And by definition, it is any value that is beyond the lower or the upper quartile by more than 1.5 of the IQR. Let's take a look at an example. So this says we need to find any outliers in the data set, and if there is an outlier, find the mean and median of the data set with and without the outlier and state which measure is affected more by the removal of the outlier. That's a little complicated. Let's just first find any outliers in the data set. So in order to do that, we need to line up all of these data values in order. So I have 10, 11, 11, 14, and I think I have 3 15s, and then 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, I have 3 24s, and then I have a 28 and a 40. Now let's go ahead and find our median, and we have to find our upper and lower quartiles. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 values. So since that's an even number, there is not a number right in the middle. So I'm going to have to average the two that are in the middle. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Okay, and then this would be 9 numbers on this side. So my median is going to be right in between here, and the average of those two is 17.5. Now looking at my lower values, let's see. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So let's take the middle one there, and that's going to be this first 15. So that's my first quartile because that's the median, the number in the middle of my lower half. And then in my upper half, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I have 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one right here is going to be my upper quartile, or my Q3. Now, let's find out what the interquartile range is, also known as the IQR. And that's going to be the difference between the upper quartile and the lower quartile, or 24 minus 15, which is 9. So my IQR is 9. Now, in order to find an outlier, I'm going to need to know what is 1.5 or 1.5 of the IQR. So 1.5 times the IQR is 1.5 times 9, or 13.5. Now, any value that is more than 13.5 less than the IQ of the first quartile is going to be an outlier. Any value that is 13.5 greater than the upper quartile is going to be an outlier as well. So let me scroll down a little bit here. Kind of keep an eye on our data values here. So I'm going to take the first quartile minus 1.5 of the IQR, and that's going to be 15 minus 13.5, or 1.5. I'm going to take my upper quartile, my Q3, and add 1.5 of the IQR to that value, or 24 plus 13.5, or 37.5. So that means that outliers, I'll go ahead and write it over here. Outliers are any values that are less than 1.5 and greater than 37.5. So do I have any values that are smaller than 1.5? I don't. My smallest value is 10. Do I have any values that are greater than 37.5? And indeed I do. 40 is an outlier because that's greater than. Okay, so that means therefore the value 40 is an outlier. Okay, now what we need to do, let's go back. So we had to do all of that to figure out if we had an outlier. That was the first question we had. Now it says if there is an outlier, which we do have, we need to find the mean and the median of the data set with and without the outlier. So let's do that. I'm going to make a little chart here. So here's with the outlier. And this is going to be without the outlier. And let's find the mean and the median. Okay, so this would be a lot of calculator work. I've actually gone ahead and done that. So with the outlier in the data set, so in other words, my original set of data here, my mean is 19, and my median, which I found earlier, is 17.5. Now, if I recalculate all of that, both of those values, not counting the 40 because that's an outlier, the mean of that data set without the 40 is approximately 17.8, and my median is 17. So my question is asking, let's go back to the original question here, state which measure is affected more by the removal of the outlier. So when I take out the outlier, my median changes, my median changes quite a bit, but my median does not. So what I want to say is removing the outlier decreases the value of the mean more than the value of the median. Okay, so that's a little complicated. We'll do a couple problems like that in the classwork. So in this lesson, we looked at measures of center, variation, and position, mean, median, mode, and range. We talked about quartiles, the upper and lower quartiles, the interquartile range, how to find an outlier, and how to come up with a 5-number summary of a set of data.